Hi everyone, my name is Andy Klein, and I've always thought that making drawers for your shop or drawers for a kitchen is a really time-consuming, sort of tedious process I really don't enjoy. And that's why I'm so excited to share this with you. I've invented what I believe is a new-to-the-world tool that makes the process of making shop drawers faster by a wide margin than anything else that's out there. So I hope you stick around and enjoy this one. So a quick demonstration before I show the tool itself. Imagine this is a piece of plywood. I draw on the plies to make it easier. It occurred to me that if I could cut this shape out of the piece of plywood, something special would happen. Those two pieces would come together at a 90-degree angle with decent amount of glue surface and no gaps. And you could cut both joints in one pass. If you can make this shape. So how to do it? It's not symmetric, so it can't be a router bit, but this looks like a dado stack. And if I can only figure this out. To do that, I called a custom carbide shop and had a blade made, specialty, one-of-a-kind thing that had that exact profile that I needed. And there it is, just like in the drawing. So I load this up in the table saw right next to the dado stack. I break in a new zero clearance insert for this operation. I set the blade height just so that the tip is just below the plywood that I'm cutting and pass it over the blade for a test. And it joins up just like in the paper example, except that gap, that 32nd of an inch that you see, that's because the diameter of my prototype blade is a little too small. It's good enough for proof of concept, but it could very easily be fixed if this really was developed. So how to use this to make a drawer. So if you add up the height and the length and the width, and start with a piece of plywood with those dimensions, 16 and 19 in this case, then you can just make 4 cuts to do all the joinery for the drawer. So first I put some tape on the top of the drawer I'm making and make 2 parallel cuts on opposite sides of the starting piece. So let's think about the asymmetry of the cutout. And we'll call one side orange and one side blue. And blue is against the fence, so those 2 cuts I made are orange on the inside and blue on the outside. And orange and blue will match up with each other, but for example, orange and orange wouldn't. So I flip the fence to the other side and make the other 2 cuts. Now those cuts are blue on the inside and orange on the outside. So I cut out the corners with a knife. And you're left with this mating profile that closes up on all sides and sides to bottom with no gaps whatsoever, because you have blue to orange not only on the bottom to the sides but also on the sides to sides as this closes up. So I've got glue on there. This is the easiest glue up I've ever done. It just falls into those clamps and comes together. After after unclamping and taking the tape off, I'm left with these really crisp, nice corners. It really turned out well. It worked better than I expected it would. And I'm on my way to finally having drawers for my sanding cabinet. You can see the blue dots. That was one of 3 that I made for that cabinet. So there's another way to use this blade. It's a bit more traditional, and I'm demonstrating that here. It'll involve 5 cuts, 3 of which need tape. First I cut grooves that will hold the bottoms of these drawers, or really boxes in this case because I'm making them pretty small. And since this is 3/4 plywood, I need to have the dado stack, add 2 chippers to the dado stack to get the right profile. And that requires a new insert. So I make 5 cuts. The first and the last, I remove the outside piece's waste. I can spread glue on those seams. And put the bottoms of the boxes, or the drawers, whichever, in those grooves that I cut. And just wrap it all up. And I think probably just tape would be good enough if I didn't have a gap with my prototype blade, but just to make sure that I get good clamping pressure and close that gap up as much as I can, I use clamps for this. So after unclamping and untaping, I mark where I need to cut right in the center in between those 2 drawer bottoms, and just make 4 cuts on the table saw to separate the 2 boxes. These turned out really nice, so I figured I'd put a little bit of linseed oil on them to pretty them up a bit. Looking pretty good. So I know somebody is going to comment on the strength, so I thought I'd make a large drawer by the first method I showed and do some tests and really put it through the gauntlet. Now I know these joints aren't going to be strong as finger joints, but I'm really more concerned whether or not they're strong enough for drawers. So after I put this together, I suspend it from its top and hose clamp a drill with an asymmetric chunk of steel in it to cause vibration, and load it up with 100 pounds of weights just for some abuse. And I run this for a total of almost an hour in 2 parts. And I had some trouble keeping people from shutting the garage lights off. So none of this really seemed to phase the drawer, so I decided to set it up so that I was standing on the front face. So 200 pounds all on the front face of that drawer. It held me just fine. I didn't hear any cracking or creaking or anything. So finally I decided just to kick it and break it. It took 2 kicks to do that. I was really surprised how well it held up. And there's quite a bit of ripped out plywood after breaking this apart. There was some glue failure. You know, it wasn't like tight finger joints. That probably would be all plywood failure, but really this is going to be strong enough for drawers.
Now I actually believe that this idea has enough potential that I went ahead and put it in patent pending status. So if you agree and you're excited about this and you'd like to have this in your shop, what you need to do is forward this video to any company that you think would be interested in licensing and developing this invention, this tool with me. Because that's the way that it'll get to the point where it's something that you can buy. I'm totally excited about that prospect, and I hope you are too. So that's the big call to action. Let's see if we can get somebody interested in developing this thing. Thanks a lot, everyone.